fast, so I want you to bear with me here. Okay, I'm going to try and slow it down for you. Even talking fast is probably going to take a little while, so bear with that too. So if you know me at all, I'm sure you know, I'm sure thinking pretty much the same thing right now. Wow, I'm kind of surprised he made it this far, but I'm not really surprised that he is the one doing the talking. On a serious note though, I want to thank my classmates for choosing me to be one of our speakers, and I hope that I'm able to do us all justice today. My goal today is to give an overview of the most important things I've learned throughout this last year. Realistically, there's no way I can talk about all the experiences I've had, all the challenges I've faced, and all the growth I've made. But I've done my best to sum up what I've learned into 3 sentences. If you aren't failing, you aren't trying. If you aren't uncomfortable, you aren't growing. And if you aren't loving, you aren't living. And I'd like to elaborate on those sentences. If you aren't failing, you aren't trying. How many people have picked up a baseball bat and hit a home run on their first swing? How about sitting at the piano for the first time and playing Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata? My point is that nobody's an expert when they begin. And believe it or not, experts and professionals still fail pretty often. But what sets apart the average and the expert? I believe that it is the ability and the drive to look at failure not as a sign to give up, but as an opportunity to learn and improve upon yourself. Honestly, I could much more easily throw out a list of things I failed at this past 9 months than things I succeeded in. I could talk about lessons that I didn't even get halfway through teaching, lessons that I felt like I nailed, and I looked at the exit tickets and nearly every single student missed the mark. In fact, every time I think about failure, I instantly go back to my first formal observation in the fall. I was teaching a writing lesson. I had absolutely no control over the kids. At one point, I'm pretty sure that one kid actually got out of his chair, tackled another kid out of his chair, and then just walked back to his desk like nothing happened. After trying to survive for that 25-minute lesson that literally felt 2 hours long, I'll never forget how I felt during my post-observation conference with her. The first question she asked me, "What do you think went well?" I can remember sitting there, staring at her, holding back the tears, trying to rack my brain for at least one positive thing that I did. All I could come up with in my head was, I didn't do anything right. I don't know if I can even do this. Maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. I sat there silently for a while, and I finally just said, I don't know. I don't think I did anything right. I think it all went wrong. Being Hillary, she immediately fired back that I created multiple opportunities for students to collaborate and think critically, and that throughout the lesson, regardless of any of the craziness, I was able to maintain a positive and respectful demeanor. Now, these praises were of course followed by a long list of things I needed to improve on. My awareness of the classroom, my expectations for behavior, my consistency in following those expectations, and overall creating an environment that sets students up for success. But rather than looking at these as deficits, Hillary helped me look at these as ways to strengthen my teaching and really bring together everything that I was taught at UMKC. I think that what occurred next fits perfectly with the second sentence I mentioned. If you aren't uncomfortable, you aren't growing. For me, looking at this scoring sheet full of things I did wrong was uncomfortable. I wanted to crawl back to safety, somewhere I never felt like that ever again. Even if that meant finding a new career, which at that point, I'll admit, it really sounded easier. But after calming down, I remembered, this job isn't about me. When I take on the role of a teacher, it's no longer about what I want, it's about what my students need. It didn't matter anymore that I felt uncomfortable, because if I wasn't going to step up and fill those shoes, who was going to do it? It's been a long 7 months since that observation in October, between the very tense parent meetings, adjusting to administration changes, taking over the responsibility of teaching 19 kids all by yourself, all while trying to work another job on the weekends just to pay the bills. I think uncomfortable would be an understatement. But it's because of these uncomfortable times that I've grown into the teacher and person that I am right now. Of course, none of that would have been possible had it not been for the amazing amounts of love and support from my family and from an elementary education cohort. And this brings us back to our third and final sentence from earlier. If you aren't loving, you aren't living. Although I've only been able to see my family very rarely throughout this last school year, they've been some of my biggest supporters. Between making random trips to Kansas City just for the day to go to IKEA, just so we could have an excuse to hang out, and between the reminder text from my mom, whether that's my mom reminding me to pay my bills, or get my cap and gown, which I'm still working on. Thank you for continuously showing me what love is. And to my cohort, some of the brightest, most thoughtful, and most caring people I've ever had the opportunity to know. Most of us have spent more time together these past 2 years than we spent with our families. Whether it was in classes, having passionate discussions about urban education and checking each other on our biases, or in practicums, having that familiar face in the hallway just to remind you that you aren't alone. And you can't forget the weekend nights in Westport. I'm sure some of our friendships grew so strong that I don't think they could ever possibly be broken. Thank you for loving me and believing in me even when I was unsure of myself, and for reminding me that the greatest joys in life come from the moments we share with people we love. These experiences I've mentioned are only a brief glimpse into the last 9 months of my life, but I think they've done a fine job of summarizing what I've learned. To the class below me, remember to learn from your mistakes, to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and to love each other, love your students, but most importantly, love yourselves.